All right, so for example 2, I'm trying to get it focused. We look to see if we have opposites, okay? And it looks like in our x value, we do. Negative x and x make a 0. So since we have opposites, we can go ahead and eliminate and then combine straight down. So if I combine, I get 4y. And I use the word combine because combine can mean add or subtract. And in this case, we have different signs, so we're subtracting. Here, we're also going to combine, which means subtract in this case because there are different signs. So 5 minus 1 is 4, but we're going to keep the negative sign because the 5 was larger than 1. Then we divide by 4, and y is negative 1. So you know that negative 1 is your y value, and you need to find x. So now you decide to plug the negative 1 into one of these y's. And I'm going to pick the second equation because it just has smaller numbers, okay? And there is less negatives in that one as well. So here's my equation. I'm plugging this in for y. So I have x minus 5, parentheses, negative 1 equals 1. So if I multiply negative 5 and negative 1, that's a positive 5. And then lastly, subtract the 5, and x is negative 4. In part B, I also check to see if I have negatives. So no, that makes 3x, and then no, that makes negative 2y. So I need to decide what do I want to make opposite. And I'm going to go for the y's. So I want to keep the top equation the same. But I want to make this one right here a positive y. Okay, so negative 1 times what, right here, equals positive 1. And that has to be a negative 1. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1y. And negative 1 times 10 is negative 10. So now I can go ahead and combine straight down. So these eliminate. And these become 1x. 17 minus 10 is 7. And then lastly, divide by 1. So x is 7. So you can see I need to find my y. And so I'm going to take x equals 7, and I want to plug it into one of these equations. And for this example, I'm going to use the bottom original equation. We can't use the new ones. We have to use one of these up here. So I'm going to go x minus y equals 10, where 7 is my x. Subtract 7. And then divide by negative 1. I just threw that 1 in front of the y to show that we still got to divide by negative 1 because you want to get a positive y by itself. Okay, in letter C, we check for our opposites, and x's and y's, they're not opposite. Okay, it's negative 3x, that's a positive 2y. So let's try to get our y's opposites. So if I want to go with the top equation staying the same, and the bottom equation, we want to make this a negative 1. So what times 1 makes negative 1? Negative 1 does. So negative 1 times negative 2. Negative 1 times positive 1, negative 1. And then negative 1 times negative 7 is a positive 7. So we can eliminate our y's. Negative 1, oops. So negative 1x plus 2x is 1x. 5 and 7 make 12. And to get x by itself, we divide by 1. So 12 divided by 1 is 12. So now, once I have my x is 12, I need to find y. So if I go back up here, I need to pick an equation to plug 12 into. I'm going to pick the top equation. Has less numbers, less negatives. Okay, so top equation, we're going to plug the 12 into x. So, but we're going to keep that negative. So this becomes a negative 12 plus y equals 5. Lastly, we just add 12 to both sides, and y is 17.